From F105 on the lead there, singing some Desert Planet to get us into this Monday evening. Did you know, Andrew, we're not on camera yet, so I'm going to say this, so our guest doesn't have to worry. Did you know that last Monday was Blue Monday, Andrew?
I didn't know. I don't even know what Blue Monday is. That sounds like a country song.
Well, it probably is. So now we're going to bring in our guest. Our guest is coming to us from the GALactic Podcast. Her name is Lauren. Lauren, what's up?
Hi guys, how are you?
Thanks for joining us.
Oh well, thanks for having me. I'm very excited about chatting some Star Wars with both of you.
Well, we're not talking Star Wars today. We're going to be talking Picard.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss the memo?
I think it's pronounced Pickard, James.
Pickard.
Before we get started, I have to ask everybody to give us a like and a subscribe.
Yes.
It's much needed.
Smash that like button.
Oh, smash it. Yeah. Lauren, just before we get into anything, we need to know your background. You need to prove to us that you are I'm just joking.
Okay.
Give us a little rundown, a little like short clip on your Star Wars life.
Oh, wow. Grew up on the original trilogies. Born in 83, so you can do the math and find out how old I am. And but yeah, grew up in the original trilogies and, loved Star Wars for the longest time. And then when the prequels came out, loved them, got excited for Star Wars again. And then obviously with Revenge of the Sith kind of came out, it was over. It was like, oh, okay, no more Star Wars. But then 2015, The Force Awakens come out, and here I am doing a podcast like 5 years later. So it's kind of wild.
When did you start GALactic Podcast?
So me and my cousin Andrea, we started, our first episode was this past August. So we've been doing it just for a short time. We've done 25 episodes so far. But we talked about it for a year. My brother, when The Force Awakens came out, we would just always talk Star Wars at family events. And then my brother would just one day was like, you guys need to do a podcast. We're like, no, we don't. We're like, what are you talking about? No one's going to listen to us. And after like a year or so of us talking, we're like, oh, just do it. And we did it. And honestly, we didn't think anybody outside of our family would be listening to us. But I'm shocked at how many people do listen to us.
Isn't it incredible?
It's very cool. It's crazy. It really is. It's wild.
Do you remember what your first episode was about? Like what topic you guys decided on?
I do, Andrew. That's so funny. So we talked about why. No, it is because we talked about why we love Star Wars. Like that was our first topic. Like why. I know it was. Like it was kind of like a really good introduction episode, and we were like, let's talk about why we love it and what brought us in. So yeah,
that's the best part about Star Wars is why we love it, because it's awesome.
Because it's awesome. Yeah. Now hold on, James. Before we get started, you and I had to talk about your your love of Baby Yoda gifts real quick.
Fair enough.
You overuse them so much.
It's not.
I mean, I love Baby Yoda, but dude, gotta like.
It's not overusing if that's the way you feel, and that's the way I feel.
Sometimes I just get one from you with no context.
Yeah. Right. I just sent you one, Andrew, like just before we went on. I don't know what it is. We're doing this week on the main show, the Rebel Scum podcast, Wednesday 7 live chat. We're doing top 5 Baby Yoda memes. So it's like gifts, but it's memes. And I don't know. There's just something about it. They definitely are overused by me, probably. But at the same time, they come from a genuine place.
True.
And I don't use it unless that's the way I actually feel. So if it's force choke Baby Yoda, that means I'm planning on the force choke. If it's the hug Baby Yoda, I'm hugging. If it's him looking up those wondrous eyes of a baby. That's me being like, oh, sipping the tea. Is like clearly I'm sipping. I'm just enjoying the show. So they're all from a genuine place, and I'm going to continue to use them.
That's fair. It's just funny when I see like a Rebel Scum like reply, and it's a Baby Yoda. I'm like, oh, there. That's James.
Like Rebel Scum's replying. Where's the Baby Yoda meme?
Yeah, where's the Baby Yoda gif?
The Baby Yoda gif is in there.
It'll replace the alphabet one day. We got to work our way there.
I think it already has for me. All right. We're here to let's get that out of this. So Andrew, where are you on the Baby Yoda on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm riding the Baby Yoda train. I don't think I've only shared one meme though in the entirety of the Baby Yoda run, but it is a really damn good one. And it's the one you sent me about me around other people my age versus me around teenagers.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's so perfect.
Spoiler alert, that's not even on our list of our two. Well, it's a really good one, but
gonna watch.
There's so many good ones. Actually, Brock and I had one that were the exact same, and I took it off my list just so I could add another one to it.
Oh my god!
It was, and you know what? I don't know if I haven't pre-ordered the Baby Yoda Funko Pop yet, so I'm not sure if I will. But you know, I might. I probably will.
Are they making a 6-inch Black Series of him? Is that confirmed?
I wouldn't say 6-inch, but yes, they are.
They have to, right?
They are doing Black Series.
To scale with the 6-inch. I mean,
maybe it'll be the same size as the Porg Black Series. You guys can't see what I'm looking at.
I can't.
I have to turn off my camera because Skype's not working for me.
I just want to set him down next to my Mando and have them be friends.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool.
The one Black Series I do want before we get to Ben Solo is I want the heavy Mandalorian. That's that one. I want that one though is like impossible to find in Canada at least. I don't know about in the United States of America. Story of my life. Either way. All right, let's get on to our main topic. Baby Yoda's coming on. Although I could talk about Baby Yoda all day. James, I saw you got Dark Ray on Twitter. Yes, Blanca, I did. I got Dark Ray and I got the Incinerator Trooper on Twitter, and I got the Heavy Mandalorian as well for Funko Pops.
Yeah, I gotta get the Dark Ray. Would be a good one. I gotta get. That
I was just at a store and it was there, and it was EB Games, Andrew, and online it said pre-order. I said, oh, I'm not gonna pre-order it, and then I walked in, and it was on the shelf, and I was like, well,
nice,
gonna get it. All right, let's go over to Ben Solo. Hashtag Ben Solo lives. Blew up Twitter over the weekend. It was trending. The fans had spoken. Adam Driver, host of Saturday Night Live. Did either one of you watch that Saturday Night Live on Saturday?
Nope.
I saw the clips. Yeah, after, but I didn't watch it live. Yeah.
Okay, so we all watched it live on NBC together. That's a good
right.
One. They brought back Undercover Boss.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Andrew, I'll send you the link of. I watched it from somebody shooting it off of their phone. It's like, nice. I'm like, what am I watching? It's like the Seinfeld version of it. Shout out Seinfeld. Half people know. But anyway, so he hosted that. So it was a big deal. The Saving Ben Solo. So before we get into everything, I got to know opinions. When the movie ended, Andrew, I'll start with you. Ben Solo vanishes. And then Rey's like, I gotta get out of here. And she puts on her X-Wing helmet and she flies the X-Wing and we're all like, badass. And then she has a yellow-orange lightsaber and we're all like, yeah. Or I was. Most people weren't apparently. But anyway, the movie ended. Did you think anything of Ben Solo, or were you just like, he's dead? Or were you like, he's a Force ghost, we just didn't see it? Where was your head at that one?
My head was at, I wasn't even thinking of him when she got the Tatooine. I was thinking of her and the sand and the Skywalker sabers. And the old lady with the camel, who I've decided is named Francine just now. I just decided that. And I want to know more about where Francine has been this whole time. But yeah, he was out of sight, out of mind at that point. But afterwards, I was like, yeah, he dead.
Ooh, ouch. That's it. He was just dead. Lauren, where were you on it?
You know, I mean, he definitely, I hope he's one with the Force. And we do get additional material with him, maybe in books, comics. Maybe he talks to Rey on, when now that she's kind of on her own. Who knows? But yeah, I'll be honest. I was sad when they went down that road, and he did become one with the Force at the end. It was kind of sad, but I I don't think we'll see him in the movie again. I mean, unless it's one of those one-time things that Adam Driver wants to do. But I just don't feel like Adam Driver is one of those actors that does like these roles again and again. Like he's very, very like, okay, I did this, I'm down to the next project. So, but I think the character Ben Solo, yes, I think he lives. I think he's in the Force with the cosmic Force, and maybe he'll become a Force ghost and show himself to Rey eventually.
I went into this movie fully expecting him to perish. So when it happened, I wasn't surprised. I would have been surprised if it was when he got thrown into the pit. By the way, spoilers for the Rise of Skywalker.
I mean, it's been over a month.
Yeah, and the thumbnail is pretty much it's Han Solo holding his son. But going into it, I was under the impression he was going to. I mean, right from The Force Awakens, I had a feeling he was going to die, and then when you find out that he's a Solo, it was like, okay, he's going to be redeemed and die. And so it didn't surprise me, and I'm not gonna lie to anybody. I never thought anything of it when he went. I was like, okay, well, that was his arc. I mean, he's done his thing. He's with Leia. He's with his mom. He finally went home to his mom. He brought Rey back. And all that stuff. So I was all on board with it. And then I get out of the theater and Twitter is on fire with Ben Solo dying. And I started to hear people out in their opinions because I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I like to hear what other people have to say about something and their opinions of it as well. Because, there's two sides to every coin, except for mine. All my coins are one-sided. But I like hearing what other people think of it. So I started hearing all the other, I don't want to call them arguments, but all the other points. And I still am with that he's gone. I do find it a strange decision to not have him as a Force ghost at the end of the movie, unless they're leaving the door open. But now, Lauren, I'll start with you on this one. If they were to bring him back, because you don't think Adam Driver would return. If they did bring Ben Solo back, is it cheap to bring him back in a novel or a comic?
I mean, you can make an argument that it probably would maybe feel cheap to a certain degree where, why didn't you just have that in the movie? Why didn't you just have him, like, at least show him, like you're saying, James, like a Force ghost at the end? Why not have done that? And then maybe that could have showed, continued on in a book or comic or whatever. I think it would be a little cheap, but again, I just don't see Adam like coming back. I mean, unless he does like a Harrison Ford and is just like, yeah, okay, I'll do it just for one time, and or in Harrison Ford's case twice. But but I just feel like, I just wish, like you're saying, it's a choice. They made that choice to have that character become one with the Force at that time. I mean, like you and I do agree with you where like it was there, like that was kind of the road they were heading down with his character. So I mean, was I in total shock? No, but like it did hurt a little bit because I was just like, man, we only got like 15 minutes of this character of Ben Solo. I mean, we got all of Kylo Ren, and you could say like within that he was Ben Solo at times. Like maybe when he was talking to Rey, that was more Ben than Kylo. But then, we get like 15 minutes of this guy and he doesn't talk. Like he says, ow. That's it. So, I mean, like, I think it would cheapen it, but I'd be for it though. Like, hey, just at least do that. At least continue his story in some capacity for sure.
Andrew?
I think, well, first of all, I think you hit the nail on the head, Lauren, where he's, we're getting, whether we want it or not, I personally want it, but we are getting comics and novels that take place telling the after story of Rey and Finn and everybody. Like, that's going to happen someday. And a Force Ghost Ben is kind of inevitable in those comics. It would be kind of crazy not to put him in there. Now, you may, and I'm going to echo the heart of the comments section right now, you may think that we won't see Kylo in live action as Adam Driver again, but I do.
Well played, Andrew.
You haven't seen that undercover boss when he says so. Just to run you through it, Andrew. He says, "Do you think Rey will take Kylo Ren's hand if he asks again?" And one of the workers says, "Well, who cares?" And he just walks up and goes, "I do."
Oh my god!
Yeah,
It's so funny.
Yeah, it's
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it definitely happened. For me, look, I agree. I see when Harrison Ford comes back, I think that leaves the door open, and Adam Driver clearly loved playing the character, and I think he said in an interview he would be willing to come back, but you say things to say things. I think all actors have done that from time to time. I just think, and I agree, he will. How do you not put a Force Ghost in a comic or a novelization at some point? I just think if that's where his character ends up, if he becomes a Force Ghost and he's in a book that 17 people read, what's the point?
Right.
Like, what's the point? He had like, if Ben Solo is anything more than what that movie left us with, then you got to put him in another movie. I don't even.
What about animated? What about animated? Would you guys? I would be down for animated.
I just feel like it's got to be live action for satisfying. Like, I'm not against the animation. I don't want like.
That's fair though. Yeah, I get you.
It just it just feels like if you're going to continue this story give the respect to the people who put it in an actual movie. Otherwise, just end it where it is. Now, you were talking about an animated film before we went to air to Side Akbar here, and I would totally be down for an animated film. I don't know if you continue these characters that we've been invested in live action into an animated film, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I don't think these characters. I think you would have to continue in live action. I agree with that. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I mean, I hope, dude. I mean, I please, if he would come back as Ben Solo, that'd be awesome. I'd be all for it. Like, please. And I think it would mean a lot to a lot of fans. It really would. I think it really would mean a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I think at this point in time, the one thing I love the sequel trilogy and the spin-offs and Mandalorian, obviously, and the anime stuff has been great under this new regime. But the PR, I think we can all agree needs some work. And and if you can get Adam Driver, the other thing, Andrew, I'll bring this to you now, is the Skywalker saga is over. How long do you have to wait though to bring Ben Solo back, unless it's in something else?
It's got to be, again, I think we asked this question of ourselves not too long ago, and I can't remember what I said, but about the possibility of seeing like Daisy again as Rey, as an older woman. And I think we all agree that we got to wait till she gets a little bit longer in the tooth. She has her acting career. She comes back when she's just chilled and she's like, okay, I did everything I wanted to do. Yeah, it'd be nice to step back into the shoes of this young woman I played that kind of kickstarted my career. Let me come back and be Rey. I'm 47 now, but that's okay. All those kids who grew up watching me as Rey are adults now. They want to show their kids their hero, their childhood hero. So I'll come back and I'll play that hero again, just as we saw our legacy characters do that. And I think that can be, a really powerful scene in this future movie, whether it's like an episode 10 or whatever, or whether it's just like a movie that happens to take place in the future that Rey just happens to be in. And you could have this wonderful scene where she's like standing on a cliff or something, looking down over God knows what. And she's just like, I'm still a Jedi. Look at my yellow lightsaber. And then you just hear like, I've always liked that yellow lightsaber. And they came over and there's Force Ghost Ben. And she's like, hello, old friend. And like, you get the idea that they've been, talking to each other a lot over the years. And he's like, what are we looking at? And she describes what they're looking at. This is a very weak script I'm pitching.
It's weak like your novel side scroller. That's a pitch, Andrew. Do you have the book near you?
There he goes.
Yeah.
Chapter 10. Rey stands on the cliff, overlooking God knows what. I've always liked that lightsaber, said a sultry, deep voice from her left. The camera panned over to show Ben Solo, shirtless, standing nearby. Yeah, see? Great. I'm on the ball.
Now we can put Reylo in the title.
Yeah, there you go.
Do they is there something nice about this saga that it starts with a boy leaving his mother, and ends with a boy returning to his mother. Is that a nice bookend? Would it have been a nicer bookend had a Force Ghost boy been with his Force Ghost mother? Maybe.
Ooh, think of that. Yeah. I mean, now that you said that, think of that. Think of that having him with Luke and Leia in that last shot. I mean, I know a lot of people have talked about it. I mean, that would have been pretty powerful. I mean, like you're saying, it really would have showed his whole kind of arc that, like you're saying, it started with his mom and it ended with his mom at the same, them going together and them coming powerful. That'd have been powerful.
Yeah, Andrew?
Sorry, I'm just responding to some chat stuff. What was the question?
Andrew's like, I'm writing another book. We gotta do it.
Chapter 11.
Chapter 11. Ben Solo's return. Look at my pecs. That's what it's all about. The Adam Driver. That's just, I was watching.
They have kids in the afterlife, Ray. I've been hitting mine pretty hard.
Andrew, your video is lost on my end, just so everyone is aware. I don't know. I'm tethering from my phone.
Apparently, my video was lost on everybody's end, but then it came back.
Oh no, because my end is the one that everybody sees. That's why. It was on when you did the side scroller bit, so that worked out for us.
Sweet.
That was very nice. I gotta give a shout out to our friend Aaron Quinton. I think Aaron Talks Star Wars is the name of his YouTube channel. He's doing a show with Misconduct on check out our Rebel Scum RSPN Detours channel on YouTube as well, where we kind of put highlights from shows and little things on there. And he's going to be doing a show with Misconduct over there talking about finding Ben Solo. Just to shout him out, he was talking to me and he saw the movie with his son. And when Ben Solo disappeared, his son said, "Where'd he go?" And it got him thinking, and then he said, where do you think he went? And his son remembered the episode from Rebels with the world between worlds, and that got his head going, that Ben Solo kind of went a world between worlds, and the visual guide kind of tells you stuff about Exegol. Andrew, I don't know if you read that stuff. Lauren, do you have the visual dictionary? As you completely freeze on my end. So Lauren might have the visual dictionary. I have it right here. I'll pull it up. But what Aaron said, though, was he brought up the Exegol is some kind of dimensional something or rather going on. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're there? Sorry, we lost you, and I started reading a book. I'm doing book time. So what were you saying about Exegol?
No, I said I don't have the visual dictionary yet. I haven't dived in, so I'm excited to dive in yet.
That tells you when it froze on my end.
Nice.
I thought you were saying I do have it, but you said I don't. So, Andrew, you have read the visual dictionary, correct?
Yes, I have.
Thoughts on Exegol based on that book?
First of all, I just want to call a point here. You're absolutely right. Heidi Feder, 47 is not old. I don't know why that was the first number that came to my head when I said Ray comes back as an older person, and I just jumped to 47. But no, 47 is not old. If you're 47, you still got at least 14 years ahead of you. So live your life.
My God.
So the visual dictionary talked about Exegol briefly.
Yep.
Mostly it mentions the Final Order. And, here's all these Star Destroyers under the rubble. And they got a red stripe because they're sexy Sith Star Destroyers. And there's red stormtroopers and there's officers. And they kind of went into that detail. Exegol, the basement of Exegol with the strobe light under the big pyramid, that not so much. So everything that goes on under there, everything mystical that goes on under there, still a complete mystery.
I gotta say, the fleet technicians, I'll just show it up for people who can see that's watching that aren't YouTube. Fleet technicians should have had a bigger role because they should have been the Knights of Ren. The Knights of Ren should have looked like fleet technicians. The red with the black just looks awesome. Yeah. If anybody's wondering, Ed Sheeran played NG Golba.
Who?
Oh, yeah. Who?
I was just gonna say Engi or NG Golba. I'll put it up for everybody that's looking. That's him right there. That's Ed Sheeran. There's Ed Sheeran.
He also played himself in Yesterday, so watch that if you haven't watched it.
Nice.
I will not. Based exactly what. Anyway, so Aaron. The world between worlds kind of came up, and his son brought that up. Do you think that there is a chance, a possibility that they would pull off something like that in a motion picture? Andrew, I'll start with you.
That they would pull off something like what?
World Between Worlds and Ben Solo being lost within there or something.
There is a chance, but not until it becomes more common knowledge.
Well, I think at the beginning of the movie, the crawl could tell you what it is.
Yeah, that's true. The crawl can tell us a lot of things now, apparently. But no, it's such a vastly out there concept that you need a build up and you need sort of familiarity. We've gotten one episode where we see it of Rebels. I think we need to see it again in another show. I think we need to see it in a comic, in a book. It needs to be very present elsewhere, and then put it in a movie. And that way you don't have to explain it a lot in the movie. You don't have to bog that down with exposition. If anybody is like sitting there thinking, what is this? Then there's more material for them to look at that kind of has that answer. But if you just dump it on the general public, they're going to be like, whoa. I mean, that's why we had to start with Thor 1 before we could work our way to Ragnarok. You can't go full rock and roll. You got to kind of tune the guitar first. And this was the World Between Worlds is so out there, even for Star Wars, that it needs you need to warm up. You can't just dive head first, because I think that's going to shock a lot of people, not in a good way.
Lauren?
No, I 100% agree with Andrew. I think you do have to put it in a little bit more than just one episode of Rebels or another, or maybe, who knows, in this season of Clone Wars, maybe it gets mentioned, who knows. But yeah, I think you need to kind of pepper it in a little bit and start getting people used to this idea of this kind of place that's in between the Force and, what we know. And I mean, if they did that, maybe they could do it in a live action. But I agree with Andrew. It's got to be really, really kind of explained and kind of not shoved in our face, but in the forefront, so people are aware of it, and then they can kind of accept this idea. Kind of think about, like, if they would have done, let's just say Episode 9 had Mortis all of a sudden, like, people would have been like, what is this? What is going on? So
that's even harder to understand, the World Between Worlds.
Yeah, exactly. So, that would have been kind of a whole can of worms too. Again, you could have been like, oh yeah, it's in this kind of 3-episode arc of Clone Wars. General audience isn't going to care about that. We would, obviously, hardcore fans like us and the people in the live chat for sure, would know that right away, and it'd be a huge Easter egg, huge whatever you want to call it. But yeah, you gotta kind of, I agree with Andrew, you gotta put it in there enough to where the general audience, and even just maybe your casual Star Wars fan, can knows it, and then kind of can put it all together.
I think this is where Lucasfilm can really use Disney Plus, and which is where I thought they were going. I thought they were going to use Rogue One and Solo and those spin-off films for. This is where you can start explaining these elements of Star Wars that the general audience won't quite know, but they're going to watch Mandalorian, they're going to watch Rogue One, they're going to watch Solo, so you could throw things in there. I thought Solo did a great job, and I think even Rogue One, when they put the Kyber crystal around Jin's neck, I was like, okay, here we go. And it didn't really pay off in any aspect of anything. I thought, I thought Episode 8, The Last Jedi, I was like, okay, we're learning this in Rogue One because The Last Jedi is going to utilize it, and that didn't happen. I was like, okay, so I feel like they have this opportunity now, especially now if they start fresh, where they can utilize Disney Plus as a way to do what they would have normally have done in books, but do it in live action so people can watch. Just like Baby Yoda force healing Grief Karga. As soon as that happened, I turned to Aaron.
Right.
I turned to Aaron and I said, "We're gonna see that tomorrow. There's no way this movie's not gonna have somebody heal somebody. They're easing you into it, but they can use these shows, this extra material to. What's the World Between Worlds? Oh, it's this. What's Mortis? It's this. And you know what? And again, I'm all up for a live action or an animated motion picture, but I think in terms of a larger audience, live action is where it is. People don't take
Yeah.
animation as seriously, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you throw that in live action now, you can tell these stories. So if they're able to figure it out, you could do it. I still think something like World Between Worlds can be explained simply enough to do. If you look at the Trevorrow script, they have Mortis in it. And then I think it was Making Star Wars reported that the Trevorrow version, like when he came up with it, he wasn't like, we're going to do Mortis. He came up with an idea, and it was like the story group or something said, it's actually Mortis. We already have this in there. So I think there are ways you can do it to make it make sense to everybody. The bigger question I have, and I gotta save the chat because there are things I want to bring up that people are talking about. But the one thing is, Rural Farm Boy's in here, and he's like, the story's over. We got to move on. And I am with him for what I just said in that. It's just like, let them start to do their own thing so that they can come up with these other aspects of it that we can all kind of learn together at the same time. So,
you know what? One thing before you move on to your big question, James. It'd be awesome, and I don't think this will ever happen. This is just wishful thinking, but if I was like in charge of something in Disney Plus, whatever, I would be like, let's take all our Star Wars content and put it into its own little section of Disney Plus, like an app within an app that you have to go into. And when you're in that section, there's like a first-person view where you're talking to, I don't know, maybe like Yoda's spirit or something like that in the World Between Worlds. And he's like, hello, young Jedi. This is the Chronicle of the Galaxy. And he takes you on that big bridge in the sky, and there's all those little portals, and every portal is a Star Wars movie. And he's like, this is the tale of Luke when he flew up the Death Star, and you select that, and that's A New Hope. And it's like you're in the World Between Worlds watching the story. And that can be their way of like showing you, this is a thing. This is a Star Wars thing. Everybody will recognize it because everybody will be streaming those movies. And then when it shows up in a movie, it won't be like, what's that? It'll be like, oh, I know this.
That's a really good idea. That is actually a really good idea. That'd be a very cool way for them to kind of introduce that concept, but not like oversaturate it to where people are like, oh God, like what is going on? Like, it's kind of like a first step into a larger world, per se. So, yeah, I like it. I like that idea, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you. Call me, Disney.
They won't because they know you hate Star Wars. Four-leaf Clover.
It is so dead.
Four-leaf Clover brought up, what does the galaxy think happened to Kylo / Ben Solo? I think the Kylo Ren is a curious question. I think that he just died. When the First Order was destroyed, I think Kylo Ren was just a victim of that, and that's the story that everybody can tell. And I don't think anyone knows that he was redeemed, because the reality is, here's an interesting question. I gotta just totally go right off on this one now, because he was redeemed. Okay, he has a cool scene with the Knights of Ren. Okay, his goal is, oh, I know what I have to do. He throws his lightsaber, and then he's like, he doesn't give a crap about the war. He's got to go. He goes bigger, and he's got to save the woman he loves from her grandfather. So I don't think his redemption story is as important as it is. I don't think it's one that the galaxy needs to know, the same way they didn't know Vader's redemption.
That's a really good point. I think the only person that might tell a story about it would maybe be Rey. I mean, maybe that story becomes kind of a legend or a myth or however you want to call it. But yeah, I think the story of, I agree with you, James. I think the story of Kylo, I think, dies when the First Order died. I think, yeah, that makes sense. And then again, maybe his redemption becomes a myth, a legend that maybe some people actually know. Some people just take it as that kind of mythical story that they hear from time to time.
And do you think Ben Solo, in the eyes of the galaxy, was killed with Luke's students?
Oh, Four-leaf Clover. Ooh. This is one of my favorite questions we've ever gotten. I love this question a lot because I think this is the right kind of question to ask. This is exactly what Lucasfilm was asking when Disney's like, okay, we're making 7, 8, and 9. I think these questions were there where it's like, okay, after Jedi, what did the galaxy at large know about what went down on Endor? What did they really know about Luke? Who is he to them? Is he their George Washington, or is he a footnote? Because he's not really a public figure. And Kylo is exactly the same kind of thing. Yes, he's a bigger politician. He's out in the open. People know his name. They know Kylo Ren. They know about this bad dude who commanded the First Order. But what do they know about Ben? And what do they know? Like, do they know they're one and the same?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people didn't know Vader and Anakin were one and the same. I really hope we see Obi-Wan find that out one day in this Kenobi series. But do people know that they're the same person? And then do they know that he was essentially Hitler left the Nazi party and joined the Allies 2 hours before the Nazis got blown up? Like, do they know that fact? And if not, why not? If so, who told them when and how? These are all really interesting points. They're definitely points that I think would come across really well in a book like they did with Bloodline. But they also can be done, it's a little trickier, but you can do it in a movie and have it be really interesting as well. You just got to find the right place for it, because it's a more political thing than it is an action and adventure oriented thing. Mm-hmm. But I would love to see this come to light.
Yeah, would Ben Solo ever be accepted in the galaxy?
He's accepted in our galaxy, so.
but you know what? Like the galaxy, when the galaxy looks at him, and I'm playing devil's advocate for a lot, but when the galaxy looks at him, they're like, well, that's the guy that blew up Hosnian Prime. That's the guy who murdered Luke's students. That's the guy who did. Like, there's a lot going against him that you would think he might just be imprisoned and whatnot the minute he gets back to base.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That would have been such an interesting, for me, like an interesting part of his story is if we got to see that atonement. You know, if they did keep him alive in 9, and you know, because we haven't really seen that part of a Star Wars story where somebody does something bad, you know, and they have to kind of deal with the consequences and, you know, atone for what they have done. I think that would have been a really cool choice for them to do. Obviously, that's not the choice they went. That's okay. And I think I'm with Andrew. Maybe we get that kind of story of that's how Ben Solo lives, is maybe in these mythical stories, these you know, these tall tales that people, you know, whisper about, talk about, and that, you know, people can take or leave, just like the Legends of Luke stuff. You know, what was fact, what was kind of, you know, made up in a way, or, you know, not the whole truth or whatever. So yeah, I think that would have been cool. I think that would have been cool if they would have kept him alive, but they didn't, and that's okay. I mean, like you said, we move on. We move on.
I don't think I've ever told this story here on Rebel Scum Podcast, but when I was about 9, 10 years old, just like before prequels even, I still used to love to write even back then. And I remember distinctly writing a bunch of like Star Wars, I guess now you'd call it fan fiction. Back then I just called it Star Wars stories, and I would just write stories. And I did this thing where it was like an alternate like reversal of the ending of Return of the Jedi, where I was like, okay, if Vader and Yoda survived, and I carried on the story after that. And I remember writing that Vader goes back with the rebels, and some people are like, oh, cool, he saved Luke, and other people are like, oh, that's Vader, he's bad. And I had like Leia not trusting Vader, and so she was like fighting with Luke, and she's like, I don't want him here. I want to see if I can find those old, like they're 22 years old at this point, so they might be gone forever. But I want to see if I can find them, because I distinctly remember making a droid character who rolled around on one wheel. And don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure his name was B88.
I'm not going to quote you.
I promise I'm not making this up right now. I remember just a drawing of a droid on one wheel. He wasn't small, like he was like a normal sized guy, but then instead of legs, he just had like a stick with a wheel at the bottom, and his name was B88. If I could find that drawing and show it, I would, but it's probably
That'd
lost.
Be amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
So basically, you drew
See, that's
Gizmo Duck.
That's
Yeah, exactly. Like Gizmo Duck. Exactly like that.
This is the Andrew's tall tale mythical legend story of
Yeah.
him calling the future of Star Wars.
If the Skywalker saga is, I'm just gonna move on. If the Skywalker saga is over, is there any hope in anyone ever getting a satisfactory answer to Ben Solo, or is it just no? He vanished. He's done. Or is the Skywalker saga? This is gonna really take off real farm boy. Is the Skywalker saga not done?
I can see where I think we were kind of talking about early 15 years. Maybe they do episodes 9 or episodes 10, 11, and 12, but they don't really. Maybe it's not the Skywalker saga. Maybe it's just another saga that has Rey in it, and she's passing along to the next generation. I could see that. I don't know if they will. I don't believe they'll continue the Skywalker saga. I do think that is that story of that family has come in, is completed. But I can see where we continue on this journey with maybe these familiar characters like 10, 15 years down the road, like we've been kind of saying earlier.
Yeah, I'll be down with that. I think if you are going to continue Ben Solo's story, continue it within the confines of somebody else's story. Make him the Obi-Wan to whatever other saga there is out there.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't need to be about him anymore. I think he served his purpose, and he gave us one hell of a scene at the end of that movie. Andrew, how you feeling? You're still on a high from everybody's like, wow, he's a genius. He created BB-8.
I'm too good for Rebel Scum now. I'm leaving. I think it's done, man, and I like the fact that it's done. I'm so excited to move on, not just for my own curiosity, but I believe for the good of Star Wars, moving on is going to help so much, because whatever this next movie is, it's going to be a lot harder for haters to pick it apart, because they can't be like #not my blank, because nothing in there is your blank yet. Mm-hmm. Nothing's your blank. But the concept of seeing either 10, 11, 12, or even just seeing Rey and Kylo again in the future, I think that before we can give that any kind of educated guess, we really need to see what does a post-Skywalker saga movie look like. In the same way that we were, in early 2016, we were humming and hawing about like, how's Rogue One going to work, blah, blah, blah. And we were like, we don't know what a non-episodic movie looks like, so we can't even begin to fathom yet. With Mandalorian, we didn't know what a Star Wars live-action show was going to look like, so we couldn't fathom yet. I think we're still in that same boat. It's still uncharted waters. And until we know what that looks like, it's going to be hard to be certain about what we can expect in the future. Because we don't know if this movie is going to have a number in its title. We don't know if it's going to have just Star Wars : subtitle. We don't know if it's going to, like, what they're going to do. It's completely a mystery. And that, just finding out what that looks like when it exists is going to shed a lot more light than we think it will.
Oh, I 100% agree. I think I'm with you, Andrew. I can't wait for this new stuff. Like, just so we can get beyond the familiarity and just like what we're used to, and we can all of us kind of go into a theater with like zero expectations and just be like, all right, I am watching a Star Wars movie. I have no idea who's in it. I have no idea what it's going to be about, but I know it's Star Wars, and I know I'm going to love it. And it's going to be amazing. So I think that's what excites me, and to get like new characters. And if the reports, I think Jason Ward, a couple weeks ago, they did that whole report on it, we might be going into a High Republic era with like 300 to 400 years. So really, your only character, like very well-known character, is Yoda. So you could use him to get the general audience in. And my hope, though, I think that's where I kind of get like scared a little bit, is that they use Yoda a little too much in that type of time frame, and like you following Yoda and these other new characters. And so I would fear that Yoda would shadow these new characters that they're trying to build up. So I would hopefully what they would do is have Yoda in there, but cameos and things like that. Don't have him be part of the major mission, the major storyline of these new movies. So that's my hope. But yeah, I'm excited for the new stuff and just to get away. And it will be nice just to kind of get away from what we're used to and just this whole saga as a whole, just to kind of get these new characters.
Yeah,
I'm scared of that Yoda overuse too, Lauren. That really worries me. That's why I know I'm totally in the minority, but if we're going back in the past, I would much rather see Maz Kanata than Yoda. Because I feel like Yoda getting overused would be a bigger, like it would just suck more than Maz Kanata getting overused.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing with Yoda is Yoda makes sense if there's Jedi involved.
Yeah.
Because Yoda would be there. So it would make, just like it made sense for him to be in the prequels, it would make sense. And look, I'm with you. I don't want, they're overusing Yoda. They struck gold. We talked about at the beginning. They struck gold with Baby Yoda. They struck gold. And the best part of Baby Yoda is they don't explain anything about him. He's still a mystery, right? This creature, this species, we don't know anything about Baby Yoda, and they kept it that way. The more we see of Yoda or any other types of Yoda, the more we're going to get to know and the less mysterious they become. So I think, one of the problems they kept, Michael Arndt and I think J.J. Abrams, they kept saying they had when they were writing The Force Awakens or Episode 7, whatever it was called the first time, was every time Luke was on screen, all anybody cared about was Luke. Isn't that going to be the case with Yoda in a lot of ways? Like once Yoda's on the screen, he absorbs everything. Like in the prequels, when Yoda's in a scene, he owns that scene.
Yeah, that's again. I think you just have to if you use them sparingly and use them as like again maybe the contact to these Jedi or whoever we're going to be following, and maybe he shows up on a hologram or they do go visit him for some real quick advice or whatever, but don't oversaturate. I think that would be my huge fear is that's what would happen. And Andrew, I'm so with you with the Maz. She would be a cool character in that time frame to kind of, help out these Jedi, these new characters, whoever we're gonna be following in their adventure, because she's so like she's as old or older as Yoda, and she has seen a lot as well, so she can give like advice and her perspective on many things. So that would be Maz would be a really cool character.
Yeah,
I would love to see her back.
I don't like Maz Kanata, but I'm with you on this one. I thought she should have been in Solo. I was like, look, Lupita Nyong'o got wasted in this saga. Like no,
and that's exactly the reason, James.
Yeah.
Like this is an opportunity for them to make you like her. This is an opportunity for them to be like, yeah, sorry, we didn't really use we had Lupita Nyong'o and we didn't really take advantage of that. Let's fix that.
Well, Maz Kanata's best use was in Battlefront 2. I thought she was great in that.
Oh yeah, like that was
throwaway scene in a video game for me had more impact than she did. Like Force Awakens, for me, I'm so like on the fence because like she's so wise and it's like, is she? Because she doesn't really have any answers. She's like, who's the girl? Here's a story for another time. I see it. And it's like, I don't understand what the character is. And then J.J. was like, oh, she's wise like Yoda. So everybody buys into that she's wise like Yoda. And then she's obsessed with the Wookiee, which never plays out. And then in The Last Jedi, she's like in a union dispute and is in love with what's his face, the Pell guy. And you're like, I don't get Maz Kanata at all. Her castle just blew up a minute and a half ago, and now she's fighting a union dispute. Like, it's like her character confused the hell out of me. But in Battlefront 2, I absolutely loved her, and I think if you go back, it is a waste not to put her in there. But then, Lupita Nyong'o might be like, you guys had your chance with me, and you blew it.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah. Yeah. I think they wasted her in the Rise of Skywalker, too. I think she could have did a lot of exposition that I think Dominic Monaghan's character was. And I wish, honestly, it's a really side note, I wish they would have, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they named his character in the movie, but that would have made a lot more sense if they would have said oh, Dr. So-and-so. Then I'm like, oh, that's how he knows that that there was the Sith magic and cloning. Like, oh, because he's a scientist.
Sure,
like
got cut.
that'd have made sense. Right. Yeah, maybe. And then because then all of a sudden you see him talking and he's like talking like he knows the ways of the Sith, and you're just like, how does this guy know any of that? But anyway, I digress. That's my soapbox for, for this episode. Yeah, there you go, Andrew.
Confirmed. You heard it here first.
Heard it here first.
Maz Kanata, the series. I also thought, to get on what they Phasma was, Gwendolyn Christie was.
Yeah, another one.
Yeah, I never watched Game of Thrones, and then Erin, my wife, started watching it this summer, and I was like, oh my god, she's really good. Why didn't she do anything? That's where I was. Let's get back to Ben Solo. Didn't see Yaddle in Clone Tank. Yaddle was in the Clone Tank with Snoke. Yaddle is Snoke. That's why I said that right there.
It's Yiddle. We have a bunch of my friends have named it Yiddle. That's what we're going with.
Andrew has a clever name for the species.
Ooh,
I call it a Zocknarf.
Zocknarf. I like it.
Because if you spell Zocknarf backwards,
okay,
you get Frank Oz.
Oh, look at you. Well done.
He is a writer.
I like it. He is a writer. There you go. Confirmed.
Speaking of Frank Oz, you know what I watched for the first time last night? The
Knives
Muppets movie from 1979 or whatever. Knives Out is great too.
I haven't seen
it. I've never seen a Muppet movie of that time until last night, and it was very sweet.
Nice.
I can't believe you waited. I do believe you've waited that long. You haven't seen many movies.
That's true. I still haven't seen any of your movies.
You're in them. I'm just reading the chat. Sorry to bore everybody, but there's a lot going on. 9 p.m. Jericho on RSPN Detours will be playing. It's already taped, but he'll be live chatting along with him playing Jedi Fallen Order. 8:30. Check out 2Med2's channel for his live stream. I predict, and Jake is here saying I predict Ben Solo will be cloned and come back as Poe Dameron. The true alpha dog. All right.
Hey, if you can throw me in a tank for like 2 years and I come out looking like Oscar Isaac, I'll take it.
I just watched Annihilation for the first time this weekend.
I have not seen that. I have to watch that. Everybody talks about it.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah, I was really tired, so I slept through some of it, not because of the movie, just because I was exhausted. And I watched it with my wife, and she was like, that was awesome. And it was really cool, but very weird. And I thought the ending was... I thought, is it Jennifer Jason Leigh? I thought her character's like ending, like the last bit of her, I thought that was like, I was like, what? But it was good though. It was nice and different. Neat sci-fi. There's a creature in it, Lauren, who screams with like another woman's voice, which was like, I think I woke up at that point. I was like, what is happening? That is scary. So that was,
you picked the right time to wake up.
And then I was like, but then it kept my adrenaline going and I stayed up for the rest of it. But it was like, I don't think I slept through most of it, but oh my god, yeah, that was good. When Poe Dameron's in it, Oscar Isaac is in it. He's like, and Natalie Portman. So we've got Star Wars all over that movie. But it's not like that. Hey, Rural Farm Boy, are you on at 8:30 with 2Med2 with Michael? Are you on? Let me know. We'll shut that. Whatever. Just watch that at 8:30 on his channel. The novelization was pushed back a couple of weeks. Reports are coming out now that the Audible was canceled, but there's a whole lot of. But Del Rey is saying no, so we won't talk about that because I don't want to spread rumors or anything. Rural Farm Boy, but I do. Novelization gives. First, let's get Lauren. Do you think there's a chance the novelization will give us any insight into Ben Solo after vanishing?
Ooh, that would be great. I think that would be a really good spot for that. Maybe just a little bit of a explanation. Maybe a real quick scene like between Rey and Ben. That would be interesting. Maybe not physically see him, but she hears him, a la like Luke hears Obi-Wan. That would be interesting. That would be a very cool little extra that the novel would give. I'm excited for this novel to really kind of get in his character's mindset after he decides to turn to Ben Solo. After that conversation, the conversation he has with his dad in memory. I think that I'm really looking forward to that part of the book. Really, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Andrew, what about you?
Well, James, I'm biased. I don't like the novelizations at all. Especially the Last Jedi one. Everybody was like singing its praises, and then I checked it out, and it was like, for a dream sequence that doesn't matter, neat. I just don't get it. And frankly, I'm sure they'll do extra stuff in this book, but frankly, I'm just gonna keep saying what I've been saying. Give me an extended cut, Disney. You will have my money if you give me a 3.5-hour Blu-ray I can buy. You will have my money. I'd much rather have that than a book.
You know what? I still would have cut. I'm the guy that was like, I could cut 10 minutes out of that movie. Add an extra line in the crawl, and you can cut 10 minutes easily out of that movie. Anyway, but I would watch a longer cut. I think it would be cool if they went back in the whole sequel trilogy, if they do the special editions, and they just neaten them up a little tiny bit. Just be like, I mean, George Lucas did it, so what's the shame in doing it with the new stuff? Why not? You made these movies. You made the conscious decision to make 3 movies separate from each other. There are continuity problems in them. Just go in and make some changes. And while you're making that change, make it a little longer. Add a little extra scene here. Give us something to play with. That's what Star Wars fans love. My problem with novelizations is I think we're going to get more of Ben Solo in the novel. I hope we don't get anything past his disappearance, because I think that just cheapens everything. Unless we get a special edition where they add that to the special edition. Otherwise, to me, that's just a cheap cop-out to appease.
Do you guys think... Do you think there was a deleted scene at all with him? Maybe not in physical, like, Force Ghost form, but a conversation, or like he says something to Rey when she's flying back to meet up. Like, I wonder if there's a deleted scene out there that...
I think that would have been nice if there was just a moment with Rey where you just hear like, the Force will be with you, Rey.
Yeah,
the Force won't be with you, Rey, but I do. I think, for me, that's where you do it. Don't put it in a novelization, because if you put that in a novelization, that's just, I honestly think it's a cop-out. I really do.
Yeah.
Like,
I think a lot of fans would be upset. I agree.
Yeah, it's just
a lot of fans would be upset.
And my other problem with the novelizations is when you talk, Pablo Hidalgo has said this on Twitter, because I think, Andrew, we did a show once and we tweeted him during the show, because something happened in a book and it didn't happen in the movie. He goes, well, that's going to happen, so just go with the movie. And you're like, well, what's the point of the book?
Yeah.
So if the books if they're not going to acknowledge the events that happen in the book, what's the point? So only things that happen in the movies actually happen, is what he was saying. So it's nice to get a little bit more information, like, terms of...
Oh, so you mean Luke didn't have that dream about Deacon Windy? That changes everything.
I think he still did have that dream, Andrew. It just doesn't matter.
Oh, thank God.
It just doesn't matter that he had it. Rural Farm Boy loves... What?
I like the novelization.
So did I, but Andrew can't read and he hates Star Wars. Wait, it wasn't... Andrew, show everybody how long Side Scroller is. It wasn't long enough for Andrew.
It is.
Andrew's like,
this long.
It's 690 pages. It was awesome. Anyway, my feelings on the whole Ben Solo thing are, if he was meant to just become one with the Force with his mother, great. Maybe I won't be too upset if that got explained in the novelization. If they were like, if when he vanishes, like, he vanished and he went with his mother, I would be okay with that in a novel, because that's the kind of thing that books give you that movies typically don't, is that little extra bit of information. But man, if they do anything more than that, if they go any further, it just catering to me, and that's just the worst thing they can do.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm reading Girls with Sabers right now. I think there were many deleted scenes there. They were, hold on, let me just read this. I'm blind. They were two halves of the same coin. Kylo had 15 minutes of on-screen. We need more of Ben Kylo's arc in the novel. I'm okay with that. I just think, like, yeah, I want more Kylo in the novel for sure. more Ben. I want to know more what's going through his mind and all that stuff. But just if you change the ending in any way in the novel, it's just that to me is a cheap trick. Explaining a little bit more, sure.
Yeah, I used to read a lot of movie novelizations when I was younger. I guess just because I was so obsessed with movies, I'd be like, I like reading too. This is like doing both at the same time. But as I've gotten older and as I've done a lot of acting in my life, I feel like they're probably the most unnecessary things on the planet. It's just because for me, it's like Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaac and John Boyega and every single human being who was in front of a camera on that movie made what is called an acting choice. And they made tons of those throughout their tenure as these characters. And then along comes someone who, no offense to any of these authors, but along comes somebody who doesn't really get much writing work outside of Star Wars and is like, I think Rey was thinking this at this point in time. Where it's like, she probably wasn't, because Daisy Ridley did the work herself and had her own thing going on. So why don't you just tell stories that haven't been told yet and just leave that alone? That's the way I look at novelizations. It's just, they don't click with me.
Ouch. All right, let's wrap this up on such a downer. Thanks, Andrew. All right, but the hashtag SaveBenSolo was trending on Twitter. It was, the one thing I will say, I'll say two final things, and then Lauren, I'll give it to you. Actually, no, I'll go Andrew, then Lauren, you're the guest. You can go last. I thought it was cool. I liked it. It was like when Make Solo 2 was happening over the spring, summer. There's nothing malicious about it. It's kind of like a, hey, SaveBenSolo. It's a nice thing. On the other side of that, whenever Disney, Lucasfilm, Star Wars tweets something, somebody has to yell, Ben deserved better! And that, I think, gets exhausting. And I think it did get exhausting for Star Wars. So I think the hashtag SaveBenSolo, Ben deserved better. I think that stuff was fun. It was nice to see, nice positive spin. Maybe Lucasfilm will listen to it. Maybe they won't, but it's nice to see. Just like for me, I thought the Make Solo 2 happen movement in the spring was also fun to watch, because again, it's the positive side of things. Stick to it. Don't be malicious, hateful, or any of that. Just be like, you know what? I think, and the reason why Aaron and Janet are doing this show, Finding Ben Solo, is because they're not going to be angry about it or mad. They're going to look at it in a rational way and be like, this is how Ben Solo could be alive, or this is why he's not. Andrew, final thoughts on the day.
My final thoughts are that, you're right. It's a very harmless movement. Just people who are big fans of Ben. But frankly, I think that when all's said and done, Ben Solo doesn't need to be saved, because I think he went out wonderfully. I think that this character was put through exactly the kind of paces he needed to be put through. And when he died as a hero, to me, I was like, that's a great death as far as I'm concerned. I don't think we've seen that. No, we haven't seen that in Star Wars, where somebody's literally pouring their life into somebody else and being like, yep, I'm pretty sure Ben knew he was going to drop dead from doing that. Like, you get the feeling. So I don't think you could have done him better. I think that was a wonderful way for this character to go out.
And you will have another debate with Girls with Sabers soon. Lauren, final thoughts for this one.
I kind of echo what you guys are saying. I love the movement itself on Twitter, the hashtag. It was great. It kind of brings some fans together and just have their, kind of thing that they love and enjoy. And like you're saying, it's not berating. It's not yelling. They're just kind of there supporting a character that they all love and enjoy as much as I did too. I mean, I wish he was alive, and I hope they do something. But if they don't, that's okay too for me, because I kind of with Andrew, like his arc is great. Ben Solo's arc was amazing. It's one of my favorites in all Star Wars. So, but I do hope we get maybe a little bit. Cross my fingers. I hope we get more. I do. But yeah, overall, I love the movement. I love the positivity of it. I think, like you were saying, James, like that's what it's more so is the positivity and the message behind that hashtag.
Absolutely. Having fun with Star Wars and embracing it for what it is, not what we wish it was. I think that's the whole point. Lauren, thanks so much for joining us. It was a lot of fun talking Star Wars with you tonight.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Anytime. Andrew, God, we got to get someone new on here.
Good luck with that.
We need someone positive to talk with us. And everybody that's been in the live chat watching along with us, talking along, sharing your thoughts, your opinions, it's awesome to see. Thank you so much for spending your Monday night with us. We're coming for you, Andrew. Beware, that's the girls with sabers. Anyway, guys, thanks so much. And as always, may the force of others be with you.
Always.